everyone, and welcome back to our channel. My name is Kenny, and as you can probably see in the background, I have got a guest, and we are also in our kitchen. Once again, we're in our kitchen, and today my grandson is going to show you a special steak recipe. He's got his own way of preparing steaks. He's a young man, and he knows what he's doing in the cooking arena. So I'm going to introduce to you my grandson Cameron, and he's going to show you a steak recipe. So you stick around and watch him cook this steak, okay?
So yeah, my name is Cam, and I'm going to show you how to prepare these Delmonico steaks. So what you want to do is you want to make sure that you have all of your seasonings laid out and you're ready to go. And the main reason why you want to do that is to make sure that when you season these steaks, that you make sure that you're literally rubbing the seasoning in the steak. So let me show you what that looks like. You're going to salt it. Add your pepper. And this is organic seasonings. Then your garlic powder. And then don't worry about any of that obviously getting on your seasoning board or whatever you're using, because what you can do is with the back here, you can literally just rub the excess seasonings that happen to fell off the steak or that you accidentally got on your cutting board or whatever. You can just literally take your steaks and rub the seasonings right on them. On it, the excess seasoning. And then same thing. So you just flip, you take your seasonings. I happen to be using garlic powder, salt, pepper. And then once we actually get these in the cast iron cooking, we're going to add some minced garlic, and that's going to help the caramelization process with your butter, and it just really gives your steak a nice, great garlicky flavor. So, same thing, garlic powder, pepper, and then your salt. Now, like I was saying earlier about literally rubbing the seasoning into the steak, you want to literally just take your fingers and mash into the steak, because that's going to make sure that that seasoning is going to stay intact in that steak. And it's also going to help caramelize the flavor of the steak as well, because your seasonings is actually embedded into the steak instead of you just putting it in the pan and then all of your seasoning just scorching because it falls right off the steak. Because whenever you're doing this, you're literally putting it into the meat itself. So just do that on both sides. Literally make sure that it's in the fibers of the steak, if you will, whatever you want to call it. Just put it in the steak. And then with your excess seasonings that's fell off, literally just take your steak, rub it, and that gets all of the excess seasonings that's fell off as you was seasoning your steak. As you can notice, these steaks are very fatty, but thing is, whenever you get this in the cast iron and you start cooking, this is where your flavor comes in. This is your caramelization, if you will, because what you're doing, you're going to be adding, I prefer to use butter to caramelize this, obviously, and then all of this fat right here, it's going to caramelize, and that's going to give you an amazing flavor. So please do not cut the fat off of your steak, please. Otherwise, you will have no steak at all. It's going to be tough. It's not going to be tender. It's not going to be juicy. It's not going to be anything. You might as well throw it in the garbage at that point. I'm being serious. So please do not cut off the excess fat on your steaks when you start cooking these. You're going to use this as your main flavor. So just stick around and watch me cook these steaks. Okay, welcome back. We're at the cast iron, so what we're going to do is, you see this seasoned piece of meat, the seasoning is nice and intact, it's not falling off, so that's a good sign. If you put it, if you obviously rub that into the meat. So, number one thing when you're cooking steaks, you want to make sure that you hear a nice sizzle noise. If you're not hearing that noise, your pan is not hot enough. Take the steak off, get it hot enough, because with that, you know that it's cooking very thoroughly, So, here we go. Now, the key to a good steak is to make sure that you're flipping your steak approximately every minute, because that makes sure that this steak is going to be cooking evenly. Most people, they do not time how long they're cooking their steaks. One side could be cooking for 2-3 minutes, the next side could be cooking 4 to 5 minutes, and it's not cooked very thoroughly. With this, you want to make sure that you're cooking your steak approximately be flipping your steak approximately every 1 minute, and that's going to make sure that it's cooking thoroughly. So I will show you how it looks like on that minute mark. Okay, so it's been a minute. Make sure that you have some good kitchen tools, You want to make sure that you're doing this efficiently. It's very easy to do. You don't want to get burned, because as you can see, this is popping. So, take your things, turn it. As you can see, this steak already has some amazing color. It's cooking approximately 1 minute each side, and then flip one side 1 minute, flip the next 1 minute. That's going to ensure that the juices are going to stay intact. It's going to just be a very evenly cooked steak. Do not be pressing down on the steak. You do that, you're going to lose your juice. So I will show you the other side in the next minute. Okay, so it's been a minute again, and we're going to flip this steak again. So, as you can tell, you can see that both sides look exactly the same. Most people, again, they do not do numbers, they do not time how long they're cooking their steak. You want to do that, because if you don't, it's going to be tough, it's not going to be juicy, it's not going to be any of those good things that you want. And again, you might as well throw it in the garbage, because it's not worthy of eating, honestly. So again, just make sure that you're cooking it approximately every 1 minute, or experiment. I like the 1 minute mark. If you like your steak more brown, maybe do 2 minutes, But regardless, make sure that you're cooking each side the same amount of time. And that's going to ensure that it's thoroughly cooked and you're going to have a great steak. So I'm going to show you, once this steak has been cooked approximately once every minute, all the way through, I'm going to show you how it looks. Then I'm going to show you the caramelization process. And I think you'll really enjoy it, so just stick around and I'll show you it. Okay, so this is about halfway through cooking. As you can see, again, this steak has amazing color to it. You can see it's starting to cook evenly through. About halfway through, I like to start this fat on the sides here. I like to start caramelizing it, or browning it rather, like that. Because, again, you're turning that fat into flavor. A lot of steaks, when people cook them at home, you can literally see the fat on the steak from where they have not utilized it correctly. Doing it this way, you're searing that fat into the steak and turning that fat into flavor. Once it's done properly, you couldn't even tell there was any fat on that steak at all. So once you do this, you want to make sure that it's getting nice and brown, which it is. Approximately maybe about a minute or two on each side. And then once the steak is thoroughly cooked, you're going to utilize that fat in the caramelization process, and that's where you're going to be putting your butter and your garlic to caramelize the steak. And that's what also gives it a lot of flavor as well. So about, again, a minute or two on each side. Once it's brown, flip it back over on that side that you was cooking on and continue cooking your steak. And then you should be prepared for the caramelization process. Okay, so steak's about done. The camera truly isn't doing this any justice, but you can see it's a nice golden sear, if you will. It's cooking nice and slow. Make sure your heat is on low. Probably should have said that first, obviously, but make sure your heat is about maybe 2 or 3, depending on what stove you have. Just do not have your heat very high at all, because you're going to have raw meat in the middle. It's not going to cook evenly. Again, make sure you're cooking it about a minute or 2 on each side and keep flipping it. That's going to retain all your seasonings and your juices. And as you can see right here though, all this fat that you've seen in the previous clip, all of that's browning now. All of that. On the camera, you can hardly tell there's any fat here, other than maybe right here. But once we add the butter and the garlic to this, we're going to coat it, and all of that is going to caramelize, and you're going to have a nice, garlicky, buttery taste steak, if you will. So, I will show you that. Okay, so this is where your caramelization process comes in. We're going to start adding our garlic, and we're going to start adding our butter. This is where a majority of your flavor is going to come in with your steak. So what you're going to do is, you're going to take a little bit of butter. This is a rough estimate. I mean, if you like a buttery steak, add as much as you want, but mainly this is used for caramelizing this. And then obviously, once it's done caramelizing, it's just going to add overall extra flavor to your steak. So take it, rub it like this, or whatever you happen to have. I happen to have some contraption of a fork here, so bear with me. Just rub this whole thing down. Make sure you get that fat. And what's going to happen here is when you flip this, it's going to instantly brown. So, going to let that sit for about 10 seconds, something along them lines. Let it sit. Then we're going to flip it, and then it's going to caramelize it. Like this. See how that's nice and layered there. Flip it. Get back a little bit. Let it cook for about a minute and then flip it. And then while that side is cooking, go ahead and do the same thing for your other side. So, a little bit of butter, add that. Use whatever tool you have with you there. Do not do this with your bare hands, because you'll burn your hand off. And just rub the steak down. Make sure you get all that fat, because if you don't get that fat, you're going to have excess fat there. It's not going to taste good. Nobody likes a fatty steak, especially one that's not been utilized properly. So just rub your steak down. Then about time you get this done, that side that you just did will be ready to flip. Then whatever you have left, just let that go into the pan. And then what you can do is, when you flip this, like that, as you can see, this steak is nice and golden brown because we did that caramelization process. Very important. Now you can hardly tell there's any fat on this steak at all because, again, we used the fat properly. You do not cut the fat off your steak when you throw it in here to begin with, because if you do, you'll have no flavor at all. Trust me. So, let that cook for about a minute on that side, and then we'll be ready to add the garlic. Okay, so this is where we're going to add our garlic. Now, as you can tell, it's a nice golden brown sear. So this is another flavor booster here. You're going to take your minced garlic. I happen to have Spice World minced garlic. Don't matter. Just garlic. You can even add, if you have actual garlic, that would be even better. But it's the same deal with this as with the butter. So you're going to let this sit for a minute. Make sure you literally put it in the steak, so just mash down on it. Guys, this is so tender that it's literally falling apart, as you can tell over here. It's literally falling apart. We'll let this sit on this steak for about a minute, and then flip it. Let it sear on that side for a minute. Okay, so we're going to flip this steak, and I want you guys to see. Look at this. It's literally falling apart. I'm going to flip it. Look at that. Nice golden sear. Again, take your garlic to the other side. The steak will be so tender and juicy it'll literally melt in your mouth. So, the other side. I'm a person that likes a lot of garlic on my steak. I mean, you can adjust to your taste. Maybe you don't. I mean, even if you don't really like garlic, I mean, it's a nice, subtle sear. You know, that looks like a lot of garlic, but it's really just going to add an extra oomph to your steak. It's going to add a lot of flavor to your steak. So, I will show you guys how this side looks here in a sec. Okay, so we're going to go ahead and flip this. It will look exactly like the other side. Look at that. As you can see, you can't see any fat actually. It's all caramelized. And what you're going to do is, after both sides are caramelized, as you guys noticed, there was butter that I didn't use that I put in the pan here. Literally, what you're going to do is, you're going to pick this thing up like that. You're going to turn all of them juices and just rub it. Get all of that in there. A spoon would be better, but whatever you have, honestly. Make sure you get all of that. And that ensures that all of the seasonings that might have fell off or whatever have you, you're getting all of that. Make sure you caramelize that like that. And this steak is ready to go. And I'm going to cut into this. Honestly, it's so tender you probably wouldn't even need a knife. You could honestly do it with a spoon if you honestly wanted to test this out for yourself, which I'm sure you will. So Okay, so it's off the cast iron. I got another one going. That's what that noise, that sizzling noise is in the background. And I'm going to show you how tender this steak is. So, it's cut anywhere. I'm not even having to put any pressure on this at all. At all. That just comes right off. And as you can tell, like my steak, well done. And then, I mean, look at that. Look at that. Now that is how you cook a steak. So, we hope you enjoyed. I know it's not a professional cooking video, but honestly the camera is not doing that steak any justice. It's a nice golden sear. I guess the camera is not really good with colors, but anyway, we hope you enjoyed. Hope you enjoy the steak recipe. Just follow it along. You'll thoroughly enjoy it. And if you like it, give it a like. Give us a subscribe. We'd appreciate it. Also, give us a like on Facebook. That's also where we post just daily updates when we're going to do a video. Basically, our video scheduling on there is on Facebook. It's a really good place to find more information about the channel and about us. So, we really hope you enjoyed, and we'll see you in the next video.
He's going to prepare you a big, juicy steak. He's got a recipe that he has put together, and I'm going to turn it over to